How many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many seas must a white dove sail before she sleeps in the sand? And how many times must a cannonballs fly before they are forever banned? The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. Well, we all know that these famous lines are from the lyricist and the singer Bob Dylan. And what does these lines mean? We welcome you once more to another show from Asian College of Teachers. And we have today a person who has traveled many a road, who has sailed across many a seas, and who has got a lot of experience with him traveling across the world in different places and teaching in different countries. So the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. So in order to answer everything, we welcome Mr. David Bourke, who is joining directly from New South Wales, Australia. He is a TEFL Qualified teacher from New South Wales Department of Education. He carries more than 25 years of experience teaching communicative English in UAE, Tanzania, Spain, East Africa, and now currently live joining us from Australia. Welcome, David. We welcome you to Asian College of Teachers Facebook Live show.
Thank you. Very kind. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. So we just started with a wonderful line from Bob Dylan's song. So you are, I think, the person, you have traveled many a roads and sailed over many a seas. So my question to you, David, would be that how would this certificate of TEFL and TESOL really helps a person to get in a job abroad? Your views, please.
It's actually very, very important to have that TEFL qualification. But I was very lucky because I had the opportunity to do the double TEFL course through the Asian College of Teachers in India, in Kalamassery, Kerala. And I'd actually looked for many of TESOL courses, and after looking at your course and what you offered, I decided to take it on. And what I learned, the methodologies, the practices, the skills were just very vital. And you find that most of these schools overseas where I travel to or go to are all non-English speaking. So English is their second language. And some of the times it's their foreign language. They don't use it at home. So it's very important to have that qualification, but also I still use those methodologies, those skills that I learned through Debelina, who was my trainer, and I learned so much through that it just gave me so many valuable skills to take with me and I could offer.
Right. So, like, I can feel that really, like, you have been.
And people are asking for that TESOL qualification when you apply for jobs. Sometimes when you apply for line, they'll have a box there, your TESOL or TEFL. If you don't press that, you can't actually go forward. So it's, to me, it's, if you don't have your TEFL qualification, it's very difficult.
Right. So you are telling in one way it is a kind of a gateway which opens up further opportunities, which.
Yes, sir. What are the technical problems?
Yeah, so I would like to apologize for this particular fault. I think there is some technical problem because we are connecting from far off the place. So kindly bear with us until we are back. David would be shortly joining with us, and there's a lot more to hear from us and a lot more to learn from him. So just kindly bear with us. I think there's a technical problem. So from us, we really apologize for the fact.
Oh, there. I'm back. Yeah, I'm back. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, it does. It opens up a gateway. It really does. And it's like I did my degree and I did my diploma in education, done my certificate in education with special needs, but the skills I learnt in that, and it also gives you that confidence that you can actually apply and know I can do this job.
Right. It gains a kind of a self-confidence also. So, like, you have been working in
Yeah,
so
and
many.
a lot of agencies won't take you on unless you've got that TEFL
Right.
qualification.
Right. Now, the thing is that, like, you have been working across in Tanzania, Spain, and Australia. Now, currently, you're in your place in Australia. So, if I may ask you this question, like, if I take Tanzania, part of the Eastern Africa, where obviously, English is not their tongue, compared to that of Spain, where Spanish is predominantly spoken, and also English is not a language which is general conversation. How would you try to explain your experience, East Africa and then Europe? How
Well,
was your?
they're two different cultures, and um, the fact, like, when you go to these poorer countries, their resources, they don't have the resources, they don't have the technology, they don't have. So a lot of the work that you do there is relied upon yourself. So you really need that background through TESOL and TEFL to come up with these activities, to come up with these classrooms so that they can learn. But then you have the opposite, where you go to these countries and they do have the technology, they do have um, resources. It is a lot easier to be a teacher in some of those schools. But what I have found is a lot of it is body language. A lot of it is you speak slowly, you use your hands, you point to things, you ask. When I was in Mexico, it was very difficult because I couldn't really speak English. It was Spanish, but you use that body language. You show respect, but you also listen to them. But you take um, the importance of learning their language as well while you were there. That shows that respect. But the body language, the eye contact, using your hands, um, it is difficult, but you do get through it and you do communicate with them. But they're skills that I learned through ACT. Yes.
Yeah, that's yeah. So there's a message. I think just we wanted to flash it. Congratulations, Dave. Somebody called Biju Axel. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think maybe a fellow colleague or your classmate who just met this. So like now the coming back to that part, like European countries, I think that you spend quite some time in the European countries. Now I get, as you understand, a lot of questions from the students who ask that I really want to go into the European countries to go there and teach English over there. But considering the Southeast Asian countries, I think you went to Bangladesh also, which you told that you got a few time that you spent in Bangladesh.
I had an offer. I had an offer for Bangladesh before I went to ACT. They were offering the TESOL, that, and then a job, but I then decided with ACT that I wanted to, do it through you guys.
So, as per your experience, what do you like? My direct question is that what do you think, like, for an Asian to go and teach English, particularly to European countries, for example, what could be the challenges that a person as an Asian would immediately face, and what would you suggest would be the remedies?
Well, there's a lot of challenges that face, as in like the living conditions, because it's just totally different. The climate, the whole culture is completely different. But I'm also a big believer that whether it's in American English, England English, Scotland English, Australian English, New Zealand English, they're all different accents. And a lot of these children are brought up with their native language, that they have this accent. And as a TESOL teacher, it's important. It's not important to know that language and speak it, but it's important to understand their sounds. So when they do say certain words, you have that understanding of this is why they say this particular sound, because of their their native language.
Can you give an example, typically phonetically, if I may ask you, just an example on the typical sounds which is difficult to understand?
Well, you know, like New Zealanders, for example, if you go to New Zealand and they use the WF, like what, like most countries, but they actually use it as a F. So this
Okay.
is why I'm saying it's really important. And even in Spanish, there's a lot of letters that they don't actually use. Like when I was looking at street signs and trying to pronounce them. And luckily I had a friend that would say, no, David, these letters are not used where we use them in our language. So then this is why I mean it's really important to understand the sounds, and that, you know, when we're trying to teach them certain letters, that those letters are not particularly in their alphabet.
Okay.
So that sound is, yeah. And it's important to pick that up.
Right. So are you suggesting for the viewers, I think those who are really right on the show, so do you suggest that somebody who has got a job or looking for a job, especially to any part of the European country, should understand part of the phonetics and a part of their culture before they plunge into any kind of a job finally going there? What would be your views?
It's very important. It's you know, there are some countries, you know, not even European countries, other countries that they may go to, that you may get there and go, oh, this isn't how I live, or, you know, why don't I have air conditioning, or why don't I have that, you know? But what you have to do is go with that open mind, because you're trying to change like software of the brain to get them to think in a different way with their speech, with that. So that's what you're there for. It's not the living conditions. You're there for a reason, but at the same time, you've still got to realize what their law is, what their culture is, what their food is, you know, their diet. You know, is it going to be 9 months of the year where it's going to be below zero?
Okay.
You know, if you're coming from a very hot country, but then coming from Australia, I've gone to like India and places where it's very humid, and UAE, and, you know, going to the UAE was very different in the fact I had to learn a whole new culture, religion, everything. That I realized that a lot of things I did in my culture is taken away, but you actually learn to appreciate it and live with it and accept it and love it. And yeah.
Yeah. So just coming to the next part, this is a very pertinent question which comes up, but I would like to congratulate, like I would like to say that you have a really wonderful background right at the back. I was watching when you were telling about the phonetics and how it sounds. So it really looks wonderful. I can read that sounds are fun. So just to take that really that what sounds are really, how is it that like teaching outside the classrooms, like if you can tell that although we mostly learn TEFL methods and teaching practices within a classroom. So do you have any further experience which you would like to share with us? Like how would be if I want to take my students out and how it is outside the four walls, how that teaching experience goes?
Oh, well, see, that's where I find a lot of these children, TEFL children, learn a lot more when they're actually outside, when you're looking at nature. And you can have great activities like take a camera with you, and you can start looking at the alphabet or start looking at letters. And you could look at a tree and say, does that resemble a Y? So you could take a photo of it. You might see a building and a window or something. We would say, well, that could be an L. And then what you come back and you get the children to do a collage with all the letters, but with pictures of nature. But then you can also go, oh, we've got a tree, like true. And because that you're not sitting in a classroom, you're actually out there, they're visualizing it, it's hands-on. And it also, because all children learn different, it's also another learning strategy or another teaching strategy that you get other children to learn. Because you have the visual learners, you have the audio learners, you have, you know, the hands-on learners, but then you have, you know, children who want to sit there and listen and write, and other kids who find that difficult, where they might be able to take photos and do collages and you look at all that. You take children to farms or playgrounds, and so many activities you can do with them, like with animals, and come back and use that within stories, and then also alphabet. And
yeah, that has been wonderful. We have got a pertinent question coming up. Before I take that, I would just like to tell all the viewers that we are talking with David Bourke, who is joining with us directly from New South Wales, Australia, and we are talking about the challenges and solutions of teaching English abroad. So David, we have a very good question. Kavita is asking, how easy or difficult would it be for an Indian to be an English teacher in European countries? I think we were just talking about the country and Europe. So that is what her question is.
Yeah, I can I can understand why. Like when I was in India and spoke to a lot of people through ACT and my colleagues and just other people, like I think they feel that because English is not their native language, they feel that they don't have that confidence to do it. But as I said before, all these children have got different accents. It's about learning English. And it doesn't matter if that's American English, British English, Scottish, Australian, New Zealand English. It's important for these children to learn the pronunciations and learn English. So I do believe once you have this TEFL and your English qualification and you want to teach abroad, you can actually do that. Everybody's got that ability to do it. There are a lot of agencies out there that I know there are agencies that will offer like TESOL course and then do placements. So a lot of people look at those agencies and go, I've got my TESOL, they don't want me. Where in fact they do want you. And I've joined a couple of agencies that do offer that, but have taken me on quite happily, because what people don't realize is with this ACT qualification, it's a Cambridge qualification. It's worldwide qualifications. Some of these agencies will offer these qualifications, but it's only set for that country.
Right.
So it's finding the right agency that can get you there. But I don't see any problem, because I have worked in schools where there's been Arab people that have taught English. There have been Chinese, they're teaching maths and English. Okay. And I've witnessed it, and it does work. Yeah.
So, David, like if I might ask you that when you attended the program of Asian College in class TEFL, so if you can just narrate in a few words, like what was your experience in that and what was the real takeaway which the viewers might listen out of this ACT's classroom program?
I really promote the course, ACT. I learned, as I said, I've got university degrees, but what I learned in that course was just so valuable. All those methodologies, all those practices, the skills, but the fact we worked together as a class, even though there were 7 of us. We worked as a class as well. We worked with one another. And that also helps you when you go to other schools, where you actually sit and you work with other teachers, and you listen to their opinion, their ideas and their practices, and then you might add yours. And I just learned so many valuable strategies that I use all the time. Even when I was in Mexico, I had a restaurant that I had staff would come up to my apartment twice a week to learn English. All those skills, I still carry this as a Bible with me. All those skills, everything, I still use, because so valuable.
That's wonderful. I think that means you're missing your days.
Oh, I do, and I'm still friends with everybody I went to the college with. It was just, it's wonderful. Yeah.
Right.
So you still have that network. Yeah.
Yeah, it's nostalgic. So you're reminiscing your old
And
memories.
I'm happy if I won't do it online over here, but I am happy if anybody wants to find. Yeah, but if anybody wants to know any agencies, I'm more than happy to let them know. But I won't say them over the line. Yeah, but I'm
Sure.
happy to help anybody out if they need it. Yeah.
Right. So, David, this takes us to the next part of our program, where I would just like to ask you that, as you understand, like in India, when we get students who enrolls for the TEFL course, and afterwards they look for the placement part. Now, definitely there are certain countries who would, I would say, mentally accept the non-native people, India being one, and some of the countries who are not very keen towards absorbing non-native. So, because you have traveled across so many countries with varied experience, what would you suggest for the students of ACT, or in general the people, that what would strategically a person should target as a country initially to start their career in English teaching abroad? That what would be your preference list, 1, 2, 3, and
I
so on?
I would actually, if I was in the like if I was just starting, I would probably be heading towards more Oman, UAE teaching. They really after a lot of TEFL teachers. They do have the whole 2030, trying to get their children up to the education standard as the rest of the world. That's a project of ADEC, Abu Dhabi Education Council. So, and plus it's sort of like a similar lifestyle, um, similar climate. Maybe that would be a stepping stone. But then there's also, you know, stepping over to the Asian side, like China, and there are a lot of jobs in China for TESOL. You go to a lot of
Right.
these companies, 90% of them are in China or Hong Kong or Taiwan, but Vietnam, they want TEFL teachers.
Okay.
And
Right. So,
a lot of the teachers I work with in ADEC, Abu Dhabi Education Council, most of the Americans had come from Vietnam or China or South Korea.
right. We have
Yeah.
a very, I would not just say a question, but something coming up from Jessica. She is telling that please do share one moment that is very close to your heart when it comes to teaching in different place apart from Australia. One moment distinctly embedded in your memory.
Uh, I have to say, and I think it got my passion for teaching, was when I did one prac in India, and it's in my head. And I remember the day before doing, and we were told they were between 5 and 7-year-olds. So I did this lesson plan, and I got in there, and there were these beautiful little Indian children that were kindergarten. And I've looked
Okay.
at my lesson plan, and I've just gone. And I remember I turned to Deputy, and I said, "I think this is above them. I'm actually getting nervous." And I realized what got my passion back to teaching was that these children were so intelligent. There was this respect for myself. We had so much fun in learning that I've sort of like never laughed as much, but we learnt so much that lesson that we ended up playing these little whispering games,
Okay.
um, and that just brought my whole passion back to teaching. And whenever I
Well,
think of a good lesson or a good time, I think of that class I had. Yeah.
right. Well, that I think, Jessica, if you're watching us, Mr. David has, shared one of his very close moments. So, just to review, anybody who is joining late, we are joining directly from New South Wales with Mr. David, who is explaining various phenomena, events, and we are learning a lot. David, my next question to you would be: this is something really like most of the students or the people listening us would like to know, that in some parts of UAE, even in Ireland or some parts of the country, when people apply for a kind of a TEFL TESOL kind of a job, they are asked for getting a teaching license. Now,
Yes.
if you can just explain what actually it is, and if you know any ways of procuring that, what the story is all about, teaching
Well,
license.
well, with the teaching license, that is basically you have to show that you've got a teaching degree or some, but I have known teachers that have got a teaching license with they may have a degree in science or something, but have got their TEFL. They still get a license because they still have that degree. All it is saying, like in Australia, we're registered teachers. In other countries, you're a member teacher. In UAE, you're a licensed teacher. And all they're saying is that you are a teacher in that country. Yeah.
Okay.
But you've got to demonstrate your qualifications.
Okay. So that means what you're telling is that they don't need to do a special qualification or pass a different test. No, with a graduation and a TEFL certificate, you can obtain a teaching license. Is it that the country will give you a kind of a document?
You can, and the school will sponsor you. Now, international schools will take people with just TEFL TESOL qualifications. You're not paid as high, but you still get your license or teacher license. But it's done through, you don't apply for it, it's done through the company or the school that employs you. They organize that teaching license. Right.
We have got another very good question coming up from Vijaya. I think no, not Vijaya. Okay, fine. So, what would you rate? Like, if I may ask you, what is the basic kind of I would say criteria in order to define a teacher? I'm talking about broad teaching. Like, what in which way would you enumerate? Like 1, 2, 3. That what are the basic skills that a teacher needs to have in order to get a job abroad?
Well, first of all, the first one would be to have a recognized qualification. That's you can't do it. It's the same as like nursing or that. You still need a qualification. I would also be also searching for a reputable company, agency that is going to, because a lot of these agencies, you actually give everything to them. Like you send in copies or, certified copies of your degrees, your TESOL, TEFL, all that. Then they're the ones that actually look for the work for you. They're the ones that get that organized for you. You also must research the country you're going to and be happy with that country. Because some of these contracts can be up to 2-3 years. So if you're not happy with the country or think, oh, I'm not going to like it or don't really want to be there, it can be a long time where you'll be. Yeah. But you've also got to be prepared to build that bridge with a whole diverse range of cultures. Like you'll go into these schools, you'll have people from all over the world as teachers with different backgrounds, different political views, religious views, just different lifestyles, that you've got to actually accept that, embrace that, because that's also part of that international teaching. You've got to be happy to be working with different people, and because you also learn so much from these people, and it encourages to keep traveling. And but it is, to me, the first part is to have that qualification. That gives you, once you've got that TEFL qualification, that gives you the confidence to apply, and also find the reputable agency.
So do you suggest anybody who is taking up a master's in English or just a basic graduation along with TEFL? Because in your views, like a master's or a further higher degree along with TEFL helps you out? Or is it just a graduation with TEFL and
they are. Oh, don't get Look, having a master's and that is incredible, and you know, of course, that's a bonus. But you actually don't need that, and a lot of the teachers I've worked for don't have masters, or work with don't have masters.
Okay.
You know, some international schools have just got people with TEFL qualifications. Some schools have got teachers that do have their teaching degree plus TESOL plus, yeah. So it's a whole range. But yeah, having your masters, it's a bonus, but you don't actually need it. 90% of teachers I've worked with overseas don't have masters because a lot of them do this as a lifestyle. So that's all they do is just go to country for, you know, anywhere between 3 and 6 years, teach, go to another country, do the same. It's, yeah.
Right. So, like you have been into Spain, Tanzania, a lot of
So I hope I
countries.
answered that.
Yeah, you did
Okay.
it. Yeah, absolutely. That's fine. So, what I'm asking is that these countries that you have been going into Spain, Tanzania, now into Australia, Mexico part. So, what is your view about accent? Because
Yeah.
we find across jobs which tells that you have to have a clear no mother tongue influence MTI or near native accent kind of a thing. Now you understand that people from India would have a different accent compared to that of the European or even the other African or Asian countries. What would be your suggestion? Like how accent plays an important role and how we can improve on that?
Well, accent does play an important role, but at the same time, like you can go to some of these countries, like Vietnamese countries, and they've got an American accent, and you speak to some of these people, and they'll talk that they've learned English on TV watching American shows. The importance is that a teacher can pick up the pronunciation and be able to teach that pronunciation. It doesn't, like accent does play a part, but a teacher's got to be able to do that. All these countries have got different accents in English, but you still have to recognize the basic English pronunciation. And most, I'd say all TEFL teachers have got that qualification, where they're able to listen to these children and pick up. And even their accent, these children understand in them. Because a lot of these students have different backgrounds, and whether it's like an Indian, and I've heard some Indians speak like yourself, very good English. Your English is very clear, very audible, learn very well. And so somebody easily be able to go and teach English with that. You know, I've got friends that I'm amazed by their English is just so good. And like they're Indians or they're Mexican or, you know, Africans, because they have worked on it. But it's like you could easily teach English. But it's
Okay.
more of the pronunciation. You be able to teach a pronunciation.
Right. And so as per your suggestion, you're telling that
And also the
anything,
grammar, you know, be able
right.
to write a sentence and explain why we write this sentence this way. Looking where we have the verbs, adjectives, and yeah.
We have one, I would say, yeah, question coming up. Like Kamal is asking, hi, I have recently started to receive job offers from countries like Vietnam and China. That's wonderful. Nevertheless, I'm a bit curious about the visa type or work permit they are offering because they give the non-natives business visa as opposed to work permit given to the natives. Could you clarify this matter if it is okay to work with such type of a visa?
Yeah, what they do is like a lot of countries, they will have different types of visas. But you are still like whether it's a work visa or a business visa, you are still legally able to work there.
Okay.
It is a different terminology. Like when I'm meant to go back to Spain the 12th of January, I apply for, even though I'm doing conversational English, I'm actually applying for a student visa because we are
Okay.
still as a student able to earn a wage to a certain level. So that's what we apply for as a student visa. So all these countries will have for different different races and they'll have different types of visas that you actually have to apply for.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's
So
thank you for
even though a business visa may be for somebody and a work visa, but you are still able to work and you still get the same rights as a worker.
okay.
And
My
China is actually a very good stepping stone for somebody
okay.
starting with TEFL.
Right. Yeah, I have also seen they have pretty many jobs. We are coming to the end of our program. Before I conclude, I would like two quick questions for you, David. One is that what is the market for a fresh graduate who has got absolutely no experience getting a TEFL certificate, quite good in communication, to start a job abroad? Like, how would you suggest them to go? Which countries? What are the preparations that they need to have for a fresh graduate?
Well, with that, I would definitely recommend Asian countries, either Vietnam or China, only because when you apply for places like Oman and UAE, they actually do like you to have at least minimum 2 years teaching experience before they
Right.
actually accept you. And that's a lot
Right.
of policies with agencies. When a lot of people apply for UAE, fresh out, they say they won't accept you. You have to actually have. So a lot of these people do go to Vietnam, China. Vietnam's a great country. I've heard a lot of great reports about Vietnam. A lot of jobs there. South Korea is also another good country where there's a lot of TEFL.
Okay. We thank you. We have
Oh,
got
okay.
Kavita
Okay. Thank you.
for answering my question. My last question to you would be that, as because of your varied experience that you have gotten, would you suggest the students or I would say the upcoming teachers, any kind of a foreign language, which is, I won't say it is mandatory, but any kind of a language which they should learn, or it would give a kind of a feel good factor once they might go to either the Asian or European countries? Because I understand like Chinese would have take a long time to understand the Mandarin language. But if I take specifically Asia and Europe, so in Europe maybe you might say a language, or in Asian countries, up to you.
You see, like Bahasa, Indonesian language is quite a basic language to learn. You know,
Right.
it's I won't say basic. It is no language is basic to learn, but they have an alphabet like we do, but
Okay.
different to English because all those letters have got sounds and you use all those sounds. There are no silent letters. All those sounds are used. So it is probably out of all of the Asian languages, probably one of the easier ones to learn. But at the same time, I enjoy when I'm in countries to learn for my own benefit, but for my own love, I guess, is to learn a bit of their language. But I don't believe as a good TEFL teacher, you need to know their language. You need to know English. You don't want to confuse children and saying, this is what you say in English, this is what, no, it's like, this is what we say in English. Repeat, repeat. But Spanish is a lovely language. Bahasa is a lovely language. I think they're all got their niceness about them and also difficultness, as in Chinese or Japanese. But I think that's up to an individual, in what country, what language they'd like to learn. But it's not vital to be a good TEFL teacher. But it is vital to know their sounds, their accent, and why they say these words.
So that is a very important note, I think, what you have made really, that there is no comparison. That there can be, I would say, an inclination that once you know Spanish language, so you can tell in Spanish that this is a pen, and then you say, see, this is a pen in English. And that is what the error happens. So you have to clean up your mind that it is only pen, P-E-N in English, and you have to learn and learn and get
And that's it.
that.
That's right, exactly. And
Absolutely.
sometimes when you do know a language, it's very easy to slip back into that, to go kettle,
True.
say it in their language. Yeah.
Right, right.
Like good
So
morning, salamat pagi. Like, no, it's good morning. Good
it's good
morning.
morning.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. In one way, it is good that you don't know the language and you immerse the students, make them eat, dream, and sleep in that
Into
language.
English. And you've got to also realize these children see the importance of English. They realize, a lot of these countries realize that without English, they won't get a job, or they can't go to university, or they can't compete. So a lot of these children realize the importance of learning English. And you find as a TEFL teacher that these children respect you. They just absorb everything that you actually teach them, because they
Right.
know the importance of English and they know the importance of education. And it's just, as a teacher, it's just breathtaking.
Very true. Before we conclude, I would like to have one last question to you. In general, when we speak of non-native people getting into, as you rightly told, that you have been to Spain and Tanzania, which are not an English-speaking country. So we get this type of query from the students that considered to English native countries, say Australia, England, or US, do you think that there are chances for Asians to go and teach English over there? Or you would suggest that only to strategize countries who are non-English speakers?
No, I guess it comes down to where a person would like to go. Like, Africa is not an easy place to live. Some of these countries are not easy to live in.
Okay.
But as I said before, I've been in schools where there's a whole range of um, different cultural backgrounds, ethnicities, that are teaching English and do teach it well. They do have their accents. There is a calling for TESOL and TEFL all around that part of the world. But I put it down to whether that's a country that you really want to go. And that's why I really stress, when you decide you want to go to a particular country, really research it to make sure, as I said, you're going to have a contract for 2 to 3 years. Is that a place I want to go? Like East Africa is a great place, but there's also some places that's not particularly safe. If I was a woman, what then countries would I go to?
Right. Safety.
That's right, because and that's what you've got to think about when you think about, well, I want to start seeing the world and teaching and that. It's like, okay, well, what? Yeah, you've got to look at that.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I've
because
seen no problems with Asians going. But I come back to and emphasize, for somebody learning just out, I would more think of the Eastern, as in China, Vietnam, that as a stepping stone.
okay. Right. So you won't be suggesting these countries that what we spoke
Yeah.
about, because as per your experience, it is not a, I won't coin it as safe, but you're saying that it is not a very easy place to live and continue with the job.
Yeah, look, it's once again, it's that whole living, that lifestyle, that living conditions. Is that how you want to live? Like, there are some places that don't have running water. There are some places, that don't have proper toilets. You may be in a school that you have to do all the resources, where you don't have multimedia, you don't have technology. You still have the old blackboard that you use chalk. So you've got to become very creative in your teaching with that. But at the same time, I've known people that have been there and just love it and adore it. So I think it comes back to your own personal choice of where you want to be. And, there are You go to East Africa, there are a lot of Indians that live there. Yeah, a lot of Indians that live there, and so that tells me that yeah, it's a livable country, it's a livable place, and yeah.
Thank you very much, David. We have just come to the end of our program from Asian College of Teachers and from my side.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I would really like to thank you for taking out the time. I know it is odd hours, maybe you will be relaxing, but thank you very much. We got all the questions answered. It has been an inspirational journey for around 46 minutes. We learned a lot of things, and we really, you're really happy to get you. And we came to know, especially for the international market, what you have told, most importantly for the viewers. It was David Bourke. We have been continuously talking for about 50 minutes. He has enriched us with a lot of knowledge, informations, cross-cultural benefits. Omkar is saying it was a great session. David, from my side and from Asian College, I would really like to thank you very much. Thank you for spending your time. To the students and the viewers, I would like to go that we were in conversation with Mr. David. So we would continuing our session from next time onwards. We are coming up with another great personality few days from. I won't tell it right now. It would be a surprise. From Asian College of Teachers and from my side, my heartfelt thanks to David. Thank you for joining us. Stay tuned with Asian College of Teachers. Thank you. Thank you.
Without you, I wouldn't have had the opportunity. Without ACT. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Stay tuned with Asian College of Teachers because we are coming up with a very big personality and a very big surprise in the next episode. Stay safe and stay happy. This is Shaunak signing out from Asian College of Teachers. Thank you very much. Have a nice day.
Thank you.